Where am I going wrong? Why does it feel like I do everything and nothing changes? The more I try, the more life gets stuck. Why does everything seem harder for me than for everyone else? Maybe these questions have circled in your mind more times than you like to admit. You do a lot. You study. You work. You meditate. You take courses. You make plans. You try to control every detail. And even so, it feels like there is something invisible between you and the life you know you could be living. It is as if there were a blockade on your path that you cannot see, but you feel it every single day. The exhaustion, the frustration, the sensation of always arriving almost there. If these questions echo inside you, this video is your request for an answer being answered. The problem was never a lack of action. It has always been an excess of resistance. You were taught to live in battle mode, trying to control every detail, while Hermeticism teaches exactly the opposite. The universe flows along the path of least resistance, and your mind, the way it is today, has become the greatest obstacle in that path. In this video, you are going to understand that your life is not stuck because you do too little, but because you do not know how to allow. And when you finally see that, you will understand that your real blockage is a lack of permission and a lack of sense of worthiness. Imagine you were born with an inner river, clear, abundant, and naturally ready to flow. But from an early age, people began building dams inside you with phrases like, "Nothing comes easy, life is hard, if you don't work yourself to the bone, you'll go hungry." Slowly, you stopped trusting the river and started trusting the dams. Instead of learning how to navigate water, you learned how to dig with your hands, carry buckets, and live through brute effort. And today, when life tries to flow through simpler paths, you hesitate, you doubt, you pull back, because you were taught that if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't count. The principle of mentalism says, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." Everything begins as an idea, a belief, an inner image. When the mind is trained to believe that life is a battlefield, it begins to select, interpret, and create experiences that confirm that script. Neuroscience calls this confirmation bias. Your brain filters millions of signals and highlights only what matches your existing beliefs. If your inner script says, "Everything is difficult," every challenge becomes proof, and every moment of ease becomes suspicious. Notice how it's always easier to believe in a problem than in a miracle. Jung would say this battle mode becomes a complex, a knot of emotion, memory, and belief that begins to act almost like a separate entity inside your psyche. You don't think, "Life is a struggle," you are thought by that idea. The ego, shaped in that battlefield, learns that value only comes from effort, exhaustion, and resistance. Relaxation feels dangerous, trust feels childish, receiving feels wrong. The self, the deeper center of your psyche, keeps whispering that another way exists, but the persona, trained by culture and conditioned by limitations, answers, "If I let go, everything will fall apart." From the body's perspective, this script becomes hypervigilance. Your nervous system gets stuck in sympathetic mode, fight or flight. The amygdala fires easily, cortisol rises, your sleep becomes shallow, your breathing shortens. You live as if you were in the middle of a forest full of predators, except now the predators are bills, deadlines, phone notifications, expectations. Your body was not designed to live like this every day. And yet, you call this normal life. How much of your exhaustion is not spiritual at all, but physiological, created by a mind conditioned to expect danger everywhere? This identity of struggle is seductive because it brings rewards. People praise you for being strong, for handling everything, for never stopping. Society applauds your exhaustion and calls it success. But deep down, you know the price. How many moments of simple presence have you sacrificed trying to control the entire board? How many light opportunities have you rejected because they didn't feel hard enough to be valuable? Can you see how the system trained you to take pride in your own cage? A mind conditioned to struggle does not know how to receive. Compliments sound suspicious. Opportunities feel like traps. Rest feels like laziness. And the harder you try to make things work, the more drained you feel, because your energy is being spent sustaining an identity that does not trust the flow. It's not life that is difficult. It's your mind that was trained to expect difficulty. And while you believe your worth comes from suffering, anything that arrives easily will be unconsciously sabotaged. The question that hurts but frees you is, who would you be without this identity of the warrior? If your mind stopped convincing you that you must control everything, what would remain? Would you fear being seen as weak, as lazy, as less spiritual for no longer being constantly working on yourself? This discomfort, imagining a life without constant battle, is the clearest sign that the struggle is no longer just a behavior. It became your self-image. And as long as you cling to that image, you will reject anything that feels too simple. And this is exactly where the real blockage begins. When effort becomes identity, resistance becomes addiction. You may say you want ease, but your system doesn't know what to do with it. Life tries to bring you paths, people, ideas, and you tense up, complicate, delay. From here on, the question shifts. If the problem is not lack of action, then what is actually freezing your life? What happens to your energy when you live permanently at war? Before we dive deeper, do something that looks simple but is symbolically powerful, like this video and subscribe to the channel. It is a small, outward action aligned with an inner decision, the decision to leave battle mode and enter presence mode. You are literally reprogramming the digital reality around you. Imagine a small bird. It doesn't plant, it doesn't harvest, it doesn't make plans, it doesn't worry about whether it will have food or shelter tomorrow. It simply follows the impulse of its own nature. It wakes, it flies, it finds what it needs, and returns to its nest. And still, it does not starve. These are Jesus' own words. Look at the birds of the sky, which neither sow nor reap, and yet the Father sustains them. He wasn't romanticizing laziness, he was pointing to a principle. In nature, flow is the rule. Desperate effort is the exception. The bird is not at war with the day, it responds to it. Jesus deepens this metaphor when he says that the Father does not love you any less than a bird. If the All cares for the birds of the sky and the lilies of the field, how much more for you, O ye of little faith? And then the Master asks a question that cuts right to the root of resistance. Which of you, by being anxious, can add a single moment to your life? Anxiety doesn't create safety. It only creates exhaustion. It is the opposite of flow. While the All moves through intelligence, care, and abundance, the ego tries to protect itself through worry, as if fear could guarantee anything. Deep down, resistance is the belief that you must feel tension to feel in control, even though that control is an illusion. If you observe nature carefully, everything flows organically. Trees don't compete for light. Each one grows in its own direction. The river doesn't apologize for taking up space. It simply finds the path. The forest does not know the concept of scarcity the way the human mind does. What exists is cycle, exchange, rhythm. Resistance is a human phenomenon, a side effect of trying to control everything. And control is the ego's hunger. It wants to guarantee, predict, possess. But control is the opposite of flow. The more you tighten your grip, the more energy locks up. Imagine someone trying to give you a gift, but you can't receive it because your hands won't open. Resistance is exactly that on an energetic level, an inner contraction. On the surface, you say, I want prosperity, I want love, I want peace. But inside, your body is in alert mode, your chest tight, your stomach tense, your mind whispering, what if it goes wrong? What if I lose it? What if it's not for me? It's like trying to receive a gift with clenched fists. No matter how much you want it, the gesture of closing is stronger. In Hermeticism, the principle of vibration reminds us, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. You don't manifest from what you consciously think, but from the vibrational state you maintain. When you're in resistance, you broadcast a silent message into the field: unworthiness, distrust, fear. The vibration of desire is one thing, the vibration of resistance is another. And reality responds far more to the second than to the first. How many times have you wanted something sincerely and at the same time feared receiving it? Jung would say, resistance is a psychological defense mechanism. One part of you wants the new. Another part, attached to what is familiar, pulls the brakes. The ego fears change, even when the change is better. It was designed to keep you alive, not fulfilled. So when a new reality approaches, a healthy relationship, a new opportunity, more abundance, your complexes start to fire. This is too good to be true. This won't last. It's too easy. Something must be wrong. And without noticing, you delay, avoid, sabotage. This is resistance protecting an identity that no longer fits you, but still fears disappearing. In neuroscience terms, resistance is a brain stuck in threat mode. When the nervous system is activated by fear, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for broad vision, conscious decision, creativity, loses space to more primitive structures that care only about survival. Everything becomes a risk. Everything becomes a potential danger. You don't see opportunities, you see threats. You don't notice open doors, you only imagine what you could lose. And then, even when the universe places something aligned right in front of you, your perception cannot recognize it. This is why you often feel like you do everything and nothing works. Yes, you act. But you act from a tense field. Action born from resistance generates more resistance. You post, but with fear of judgment. You work, but with fear of losing. You engage in relationships, but with fear of abandonment. On the surface, it looks like movement. Underneath, it's pure tension. And the universe responds to the underneath, not the surface. The honest question isn't, what am I doing wrong? But from what state am I doing everything? From trust? Or from desperation disguised as productivity? From the Hermetic view, resistance is unnecessary friction in a system built to flow. When you're aligned, energy moves with ease, like water following gravity. When you resist, it's like trying to push water uphill. No matter how hard you work, the vibrational cost is enormous, the results are small, and the exhaustion is immense. You feel it physically: chronic fatigue, heaviness, the sense that everything is an endless uphill climb. And so the most honest question of this stage emerges. If the issue isn't lack of action, but excess tension, who is the me that is always tense? Which version of you lives in constant alert, doubting everything, holding the breath, afraid everything will collapse if you soften for 5 minutes? As long as you look only at behavior, you'll keep trying to fix the visible tip of the iceberg. The root lies deeper, in the identity you're wearing. What version of I needs resistance to feel safe? Imagine spending your entire life wearing a heavy suit of armor. In the beginning, it made sense. It protected you, gave you security, helped you survive. But you grew, the landscape changed, and the armor stayed. Today, many of your so-called blockages are not external walls at all. They are metal plates you still carry simply because you once learned that being without them was dangerous. This armor is your identity of struggle, forged from beliefs like, nothing comes easy for my family. I always have to handle everything alone. If I relax, everything falls apart. As long as you believe this is just who you are, anything outside this pattern will feel like a threat, not a blessing. The principle of correspondence compresses this truth into a single phrase: as within, so without. Inner identity creates outer behavior, and outer behavior generates evidence that reinforces the identity. If, at your core, you perceive yourself as separate from the all, small, unprotected, at the mercy of chance or the cruelty of others, the world turns into a hostile place. This feeling of separation is the root of fear, scarcity, and egoic control. Because if you believe you are alone in an indifferent universe, of course you will try to control everything to survive. The ego takes the wheel because it trusts nothing beyond itself. That is why, so often, when something finally begins to go well, resistance increases. You complicate what is simple, create new problems, disappear. Choose the hardest path. It's not because you are crazy or self-sabotaging. It's because the old identity was programmed to exist inside struggle. If the struggle ends, it doesn't know who it is anymore. So it recreates conflict just to keep existing. You don't manifest through the action alone, you manifest through the self performing the action. The same gesture, taken by someone who sees themselves as a victim of life, or by someone who sees themselves as an expression of the all, opens entirely different realities. For Jung, this identity of struggle is a hardened persona, a social character you crafted to be accepted, survive, be praised. It says, "I'm the strong one. I can handle anything. I always find a way." But behind it, the self, the true center of your psyche, connected to the all, knows you were never separate, that you don't need to prove your worth through suffering. Yet when you forget this connection to something greater, the ego panics and tries to seize control. Fear, anxiety, and scarcity are symptoms of this spiritual amnesia. You forget you are part of the all and begin to live as if you were a fragile point floating alone in the void. In neuroscience, this translates into identity circuits. Thoughts like, "I always have to fight. I'm never the chosen one. If I don't control everything, it goes wrong." Fire neural networks that are already deeply established. Your brain learns this self and begins to automate responses that match it. Tension in the body, hurry, distrust. The good news is that identity can also be rewired. When you begin perceiving yourself as supported, guided, connected, new neural circuits start forming. It feels uncomfortable at first because the old self screams, "This is not you." But that scream is the sign that the old identity is losing territory. So the real question becomes, who are you being when you ask for what you ask? Are you the separated self, fearful, tense, desperate for control so nothing collapses? Or the self who begins to remember it is a spark of the all, and therefore capable of receiving without guilt, without drama, without self-destruction? Because reality does not respond only to your request, it responds to the level of consciousness making the request. And if this inner self shapes the way you perceive time, opportunities, and delays, how is it distorting the reality you think you're seeing? When you're in resistance, it's as if you place a distorted filter over everything. Opportunities look smaller, risks look bigger, and time itself feels slower. You feel like nothing moves, everything goes wrong, the universe is testing me. But from a hermetic perspective, something else is happening. Resistance is creating delays in your timeline. The principle of cause and effect reminds us, for every effect, there is a corresponding cause. What you call a blockage is often just the effect of an inner vibrational cause: tension, doubt, fear, self-pressure. In quantum mechanics, the observer affects the phenomenon observed. Metaphorically speaking, a tense observer disturbs the field and generates chaotic patterns. When you look at your life expecting more setbacks, more delays, more humiliation, you position yourself as a suspicious observer. Your perception automatically selects everything that confirms that expectation. It's not that synchronicities disappear, it's that your mind is no longer available to recognize them. They knock at your door, but you're too busy talking to fear. Have you noticed that when you finally loosen your grip a little, things suddenly begin to move? A message arrives, an opportunity appears, a person reaches out, a path opens. The universe is not taking long out of cruelty. What extends the timeline is resistance. You say, "I want this," but right after you think, "It's hard, it will take years, it's not for me." And that second sentence outweighs the first. Instead of walking a timeline where what you want is approaching, you step into one where it always seems just out of reach. The turning point is understanding that letting go is not giving up what you want. It is giving up controlling the how, when, and through whom it must come. When you relax your grip on the how, the field reorganizes possibilities that your tense state would never allow you to see. When you insist on controlling everything, the universe respects your free will and leaves you holding the weight alone, a weight that could be carried much more lightly if you allowed partnership instead of domination. Letting go is not stepping away from your desire, it is stepping out of the way so the desire can reach you. Imagine you're gripping a rope with all your strength, your hands burning, your muscles trembling, terrified that if you let go, you'll fall into an abyss. But when you finally gather the courage to release your fingers, you realize there was never an abyss at all, just solid ground right beneath you. Letting go is exactly that. The moment you discover that most of your pain was coming from holding on, not from reality itself. But a mind trained in struggle hates this idea because it confuses letting go with quitting, neglecting, abandoning. And that's why we need to redefine this word once and for all. In Taoism, there is the principle of wu wei, action without force, movement without going against the current. It is not passivity, it is alignment. The Tao is described as the natural current of life itself, silent, intelligent, self-regulating. Water is its perfect symbol. Water does not fight the stone, it flows around it. It does not argue with gravity, it surrenders to it. And because of that, over time, it carves even the hardest rock. Letting go, through the Tao, is to stop demanding that the river flows where the ego wants, and start asking, how can I cooperate with the movement that is already happening? In practice, letting go begins in the body, not in the mind. That's why breath is such a powerful key. When you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, you are teaching your nervous system that there is no immediate threat. The long exhale activates the parasympathetic system, the brake, signaling to your body, you can rest now. Your mind may still be telling stories of danger, but your body starts receiving a different message. Notice how resistance almost always comes with trapped breath, and letting go almost always comes with a spontaneous sigh, as if the body itself whispers, enough. You don't need complex rituals to begin. 3 minutes of conscious breathing a day already opens space. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 6. Repeat. Not as a magic spell, but as a gesture of reconciliation with your own rhythm. While doing this, notice how thoughts of control arise. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm wasting time? And instead of negotiating with them, return to the air entering and leaving. Letting go is choosing the present body over the catastrophic mind. Another powerful key is Ho'oponopono, which is not a 4-phrase spell, but a path of memory cleansing. When you repeat, with presence, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. You're not trying to convince the universe to give you something. You're assuming vibrational responsibility for what you're carrying. I'm sorry acknowledges the pain. Please forgive me dissolves the guilt. I love you reconnects you with the all. Thank you opens space for the new. In Hermetic terms, this is mental transmutation in action. You stop fighting what you feel and begin purifying the field from which your reality emerges. From a Jungian perspective, letting go is allowing the self to guide more than the ego. It is admitting that the part of you trying to control everything is the part that is most afraid. When you surrender, not to an abstract idea, but to a greater intelligence that speaks through your body, intuition, and the signs of life, something shifts in the internal hierarchy. The ego ceases to be a tyrant and becomes a servant. And this does not make you passive, it makes you a partner of the all. Ask yourself honestly, How many times have you hurt yourself trying to be the god of the situation, instead of remembering that you are already an expression of something infinitely larger? Letting go is not folding your arms and waiting for the universe to do everything. It is doing what is yours to do with presence, and releasing everything that is not yours without self-destruction. It is taking aligned action and then resisting the urge to open the oven every 5 minutes to check if the cake has risen. It is sending the resume and not punishing yourself if the response doesn't come at the pace your ego wants. It is caring for your body, your mind, your vibration, and accepting that the timing of results belongs to an intelligence far wiser than you. So the final question becomes simple and radical. In which areas of your life are you still holding the rope with bleeding hands, afraid to discover that if you let go, there is no abyss, only ground? You didn't arrive here by accident. If something inside you recognized this truth, that the problem was never a lack of effort, but an excess of resistance, this is already a sign that a part of you is tired of living at war with life. The principle of mentalism, the principle of vibration, the rhythm of existence, Jungian psychology, the Tao, the breath, Ho'oponopono, everything points to the same revelation. You were never separated from the all. It was the illusion of separation that created fear, scarcity, egoic control, and with them, the vibrational contraction that blocks everything. The true turning point begins when you stop asking, "What else do I need to do?" and start asking, with honesty, "What do I need to release?" Now, I want to invite you to a small act of conscious magic. Take a breath, feel the air entering and leaving, and write in the comments, "I allow the flow." It's not just a nice sentence, it is a vibrational declaration. It is you saying to yourself, to the all, and to your unconscious, "I choose to cooperate with life, not fight against it." Return to that comment in the future, and notice what changed when you stopped gripping the rope with bleeding hands and allowed yourself to trust the ground beneath your feet. If this video helped you see your own story from a different angle, like this video and subscribe. It's not just to support the channel. When you interact, you are teaching the algorithm to deliver more knowledge that expands consciousness, instead of more content that keeps you in struggle. And if you feel someone you care about is carrying too much weight alone, share this video with them. Sometimes, a single message like this is exactly what the soul has been silently asking for. And if prosperity is one of the areas where you feel resistance the most, I have an invitation for you. The ebook, The Key to Prosperity: Transform Your Financial Life with the Hermetic Laws. Here, I take everything we explored today: identity, flow, letting go, the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, and apply it directly to money. There are no empty promises, no think positive and everything resolves, but a practical map to align who you are internally with the financial reality you want to live. The link is in the pinned comment. And yes, treat this as a limited initiatory doorway. The launch price will not remain available for long. And if you want to go even deeper after this video, watch the content appearing here on the card and at the end of the screen. I suggest starting with the video where I explain the principle of mentalism and the relationship between mind, reality, and identity. It's like entering the next chamber of the same temple, the same path, but with layers of comprehension unfolding more and more. If today's video showed you the importance of releasing control, the next one will show you why your mind is the portal where reality begins. You were not born to live in conflict with existence. You were born to walk in partnership with it. Letting go is not abandoning life. It is finally allowing life to enter. Until the next initiatory encounter. On the path of Hermetic wisdom,